In Tragedy, a true crime podcast, we discuss missing persons cases, violent crime, and other sensitive topics that may be difficult for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Our show is a place where every story matters and every voice deserves to be heard. To support this podcast, you can subscribe at www.tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast.com for early access to new episodes. And join our Facebook community, Tragedy, a True Crime Podcast, for updates, discussions, and ways to support the families we feature. In Tragedy, a True Crime Podcast, we hold space for the people who are missing and for the ones who miss them. Audrey Herron was deeply loved. Today we're joined by Corrina, a close friend who knew Audrey in life, not in loss. Through her memories, we remember Audrey as she was, and we honor the love that continues as her family waits for answers. In this episode, we continue the story of Audrey's disappearance by speaking with her good friend, Corrina. And welcome to the show, Corrina.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here. We really appreciate your contribution to trying to move Audrey's disappearance forward and seeing if we can put this puzzle together to complete the picture. So before we speak a little bit about Audrey, tell our listeners about you.
I'm a mother of three grown girls. I have a grandson, 10 months old, and I just moved out of the area that we all lived in within the last 6-7 months.
That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What do you want people to know about Audrey?
She was a great mother and a good wife and a great friend. She loved her kids with everything she had in her soul. They were her number one priority. You know, she was always I just remember her being so spunky, and that's the only way I can describe her. Spunky, and you know, she was a little girl, but spunk to her and energy, and you know, great energy. She was an overall good person.
Tell us how you met and a little bit about your relationship.
Audrey and I met in high school. We hung out in school. We hung out after school. After we graduated, we lost track for, I don't know, maybe I moved to a different area, maybe 5 years. We lost contact. I don't really remember if we spoke occasionally, you know, but she had moved to my mom's street in Coxsackie, and my mom ran into her and told me. I was living in Caro at the time, and I moved back to Coxsackie with my oldest daughter, Mariah, who was a year old. And we literally lived a couple minutes from, well, I lived a couple minutes from her and my mom's street. So it must have been then that I contacted her, and we got a lot closer then. Sansia was 3 years old at that time. My daughter, Mariah, was a year old, and we did a lot of things together with the girls. Disney on Ice. We went to the circuses together. I spent a lot of time at her and Jeff's home in Coxsackie on Van Dyke Street. So we got, you know, reacquainted from our high school years to our adult life.
We're going to ask you to kind of think back to sort of the days, maybe weeks, and maybe even months before Audrey went missing. Did you notice anything unusual about her behavior or the behavior of anybody around her that kind of stands out to you as you reflect back on that?
No, not at all. I mean, these are the things that I replay in my head.
Yeah.
Not so much now, but then. Nope, her and Jeff moved into their new home. They moved from Coxsackie to Freehold in their new home next to the golf course. And actually, I'm sorry, no. They moved from Coxsackie to the golf course in a home that was already there, and then they were building. But a couple weeks, trying to think, no, I don't know how many weeks, it might have been a month leading before the disappearance. They were moving into the big house, and there was a dog house that she was given away. So my husband at the time, he came over with a truck. I think I had my vehicle, a separate vehicle. The only thing that was kind of strange was that Jeff came to the house. He must have been working on the golf course the day that we came to pick up the dog house, and it was almost like he was wondering who was there, because he must have seen vehicles in the driveway, I'm assuming, but he didn't come upstairs. I think I remember him being down in the basement, and yeah, I don't know. It was a little strange. I don't know. I can't explain why it was strange. It was just a feeling I got. But nothing, crazy or anything. It was just, I didn't know if he was being nosy, wondering who was there, or it was just an odd, I guess the way he was acting. Like, he didn't come upstairs. I think I remember him staying downstairs in the basement and calling up. The next thing you know, the last conversation, that was the last time I saw her physically. We talked about all getting together and playing cards. I'm not a card player, but my ex-husband was, so, and I guess they were too. But that's the last conversation physically that I had with her.
And what do you remember about when you discovered that she was missing? Talk us through that.
So that day, it was a Friday, and I actually remember the night before when everything was happening, which we hadn't known yet, but it was the 9/11 on, I think, Dateline or something like that. They had the 9/11 babies being born that year, because it was a year later, and they were like, some of them were a year old, some of them were born, and I remember watching that on Dateline that night. And the next day, my youngest daughter was, I think, going into first grade, and I took her and my two younger girls, who were babies at the time, to Albany to go clothes shopping for Mariah for school, and I had been gone all day. When I got home, on my answering machine, on my digital answering machine, I don't remember if it was Jeff first, or there was 3 messages on my phone. One from our friend Dawn, one from our friend Nellie, and one from Jeff. But I don't remember which one was first, and if his was last or his was first. But they didn't say anything on the phone. The girl, Dawn, said, give me a call when you get home. Nellie said the same thing. So I knew something was going on, and then Jeff's message, and I still to this day, probably because I played it over and over and over, was, hi, Corrina, it's Jeff Herron. We're having trouble locating Audrey. If you've heard from her, please call me. And so from there, I must have called Dawn, because I wasn't as close with Nellie as I was Dawn. And Dawn and I and Audrey were really good friends in high school. The 3 of us did stuff together, so Dawn Blarge was very close with Audrey. Yeah, so I must have gotten a hold of one of the girls. I'm assuming it was Dawn, and she must have told me what was going on. And my mom came over to watch my kids, and so I can go out with them. I think Dawn and Nellie met at my house, and I must have went with them, and we all went on foot. Can't remember if Marie was there, if she met us. I'm thinking maybe she was at work. I think she was away at work when all this happened. But we all went on foot on the streets surrounding, near, I think it was like Caniff Road or can't remember the name of the roads, but near Audrey's home. And we actually went on foot, just looking to see if there was any vehicles in the woods, if something went off the road, if somebody went off the road. I can't remember if I went, we might have went to Audrey's house after that. I don't remember.
Why that particular area as a starting point? I mean, what compelled you to go to that spot?
I think because that would have been the road, the side road that would have been off of Route 32, so she would have had to take a main road through after she got out of Jefferson, which is outside of Catskill. It's not too far from the hospital where she was, or the nursing home, to get to Route 23. And 23 is a main highway. And from 23, she would have taken a right onto Route 32, which is it's not a highway, but it's a main road. And off of Route 32, she would have turned right. I believe it's Caniff Road. And then she would have taken a left off another road. Those are back roads. So off of Route 32, Caniff and the other road were back roads. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe because they were back roads and we thought maybe nobody checked I don't know. I don't remember. The only thing I'm assuming is because they were back roads and we were thinking she could have went off the road, because of course that's what we're thinking. That's our first thoughts. Like she had to have gone off the road. At this point, we never in our wildest dreams would have thought that she was missing. She would have went missing and we wouldn't have found her. At that point, I still can't believe we haven't found her, but then, at that point, I think we were thinking we were going to find her.
So it sounds like you're thinking maybe she's had a flat tire or run out of gas or something. She's just going to be pulled off the side of the road, maybe? Not necessarily.
I think it was more like she went off the road. We thought she could have went off the road. It was raining that night. I'm assuming foggy. And we're just looking for, it's fresh. It's the day after. We're just thinking of tracks or something. It's the country. It's back roads. There could have been like a little bit of not in a cliff or anything, but like a little, you go off the road and go through the woods, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yes.
Hit a tree.
Was law enforcement involved at this point?
I don't remember. I remember hearing that they were notified that morning by her stepmother, Jeannie, because she worked for the state troopers. I'm assuming, yes. I don't remember now, but I'm assuming, I don't know when they started looking for her, though. I don't remember when they started looking.
Yeah, I was just trying to determine this. It sounds to me like if this isn't the first search, it's certainly close to the first search.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like you're describing more of like maybe a disturbance, maybe a tree that looks like, I hear what you're saying now. Thank you for that.
We weren't thinking of anything.
Yeah.
She went off. At this point, we're thinking she went off the road. I mean, really, what else could have happened? You know what I mean? Like now it's 20-something years later and you're like, still can't believe we can't find her. And but when it first happens, you're not thinking that she's gonna go missing.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking there has to be a logical explanation, and the only logical explanation was she went off the road.
Yeah, and this particular piece is really strange. It goes back to, we've done a lot of reading so far, and it's a 12-mile stretch of road, and what law enforcement that we've been able to see so far indicated that they look for damaged guardrails, they look for trees that have been damaged, bushes, skid marks, anything, and that the only thing that was notable in this 12 miles was the lack of any of that.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean lack
of? The lack of any of those characteristics.
Yeah, there weren't any of those things.
Any of those things.
Oh, right. And I mean, we went, you got to think, so if she left work at 11 o'clock, this was less than 24 hours when we went out there, because I got home in the afternoon sometime. I want to say that if I remember correctly, and I still have the phone, actually, I don't know that it works, but I I want to say that when everybody called me, it was early afternoon. And when Jeff called me, I remember specifically, I want to say he called me around 2, 3 o'clock, because I remember thinking, why is he calling me so late? After I found out she was actually missing, after I spoke to the girls, Dawn, I remember thinking, why is he calling me so many hours later after she was supposed to be home at 11 o'clock at night? Because Jeff was the type that he if she was at my house and she said, oh, I'm going to be home at 9 o'clock. I mean, we had little babies. We weren't out. We didn't go out. We did we got together, had cups of coffee, maybe went to one of those home parties. But if she told Jeff I was going to be home at 9 o'clock from Corrina's house, he would be calling my house if she wasn't home. Why? That's the only question I have, is why did he wait so long to call me? He knew me well enough to call me. I don't know what his relationship with the other girls were at the time, but I was at his house a lot, especially the house in Cooksaki. Why wouldn't he have called me at 10 o'clock in the morning? That's the only thing that kept running through my head at that time.
So it's 11 p.m. on Thursday night, but he doesn't call you until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon on Friday.
On Friday, right.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't mean anything, but to me, it's kind of weird. That's weird to me. If my husband went missing, I mean, I would have been calling people at 6 o'clock. I would have been calling people at 12 o'clock. My husband did stuff like that. I mean, not for 24 hours. He would just go out after work and I wouldn't be able to get a hold of him. But, still, if I was Jeff and Audrey didn't come home at 11 o'clock, I would be calling people by 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I understand, it's in the morning, but you know what? That's kind of an emergency.
Yes, we were discussing this the other day. At one point in my life, I had my full-time job. I was teaching, and then I would go teach for a university that was a good hour away from the house, and that was a nighttime class. So I think you kind of figured I'd be home around 11 p.m., and I will guarantee you that if I was not rolling around by 11:15 at the latest, probably, and of course we have cell phones, you're like, are you okay? You would call me, or you would start calling around. And so this does seem to be sort of something that kind of makes your red flags go off, but you've also described it as a change in behavior, because you're indicating that typically, she's supposed to be home at a certain time, or he's expecting her home at a certain time. It takes X amount of minutes to get from your house to their house. Right. Why wasn't that same pattern of behavior followed in this case?
Right. That was the only thing that at that time that I would question in my head, like, I don't understand. And then you hear things like, I don't know what's true and what's not true. I had little babies at home. So you spoke to Marie already. I don't even know what she told you, because she didn't tell me what her conversation with you was. But, she was more involved with this than I was at that time when it first happened. And I wasn't questioning Jeff. You know what I mean? Like, I just figured, the police would take care of it. But after a while, days are going by, and then weeks, and then that's when it really started hitting me. Like, why didn't he call me? Why, or anybody else, but me in particular, because I had a little bit more of a relationship with him, where maybe Dawn didn't. I don't know what Marie's relationship with Jeff was. I know Dawn said that Jeff didn't care for her, but, I just had a different relationship with Jeff because I was there all the time with my kids. or with Mariah, but I didn't get a chance. So I wasn't I didn't get involved like Marie did as far as finding things out and talking to Jeannie and Ray, which is Audrey's father and stepmother, and talking to Jeff, going to the house when the police were there. And so I don't know what's real and I'm not saying what anybody says isn't real. It's just that when someone tells you something, like if someone said, she left her purse, because that's what you hear too over the years, that she left her purse there. Was that real? Did she really leave her purse there? Or did someone just say that? And you know what I'm saying? But as far as Jeff and not calling, and I don't know if he called, I don't know. I don't know if he called the state troopers. Then I heard Jeannie called the state troopers. So it is kind of weird for me because of the things that I've heard. But I personally never spoke to Jeff about any of this. So I don't know what's absolutely 100% true and what's not. I know he didn't call me, though. That I know 100%. He did not call me until the next day. She had been already missing 15, 16 hours.
Yeah, you describe something that we talk a lot with as we're speaking to those people who are close to victims of unsolved crimes. And the reason, what we try to do to sort of tease that out is we always request records from the local law enforcement, because that, you would hope, is going to be evidence, right? These are who called it in first. It should say that. Right. It should be in that very first report. Now,
right. Did the troopers see her you
exactly.
hear that there was a purse left or a cigarette case. I don't even remember now. But who saw that? Was it a police officer? I don't know. But, Marie, like I said, Marie got really involved with all of this. And she's the one where I got a lot of the information from. So I don't know, unless I see something or someone tells me 100% of anything in life, not just this, but I can't believe everything. You can't believe everything you hear, so, but I know for certain Jeff did not call me in the morning.
Yes. And one of the things that is very important to us when we can't get the information that we're hoping to get from law enforcement, which sometimes is the case.
It's not incredibly uncommon.
Right. Is we sort of do, it's not really an official triangulation of information, but we really do not talk about things publicly that are not firmly established unless we hear a similar thing from several people. And then we'll be like, oh, okay, maybe this is something that is a piece of the puzzle. But even better if we can actually get the records from law enforcement. So
yeah, and one of the things we like to be careful with is too, we don't like to, we're not trying to convict anyone on the podcast of whether they were involved in something or not. Well, but what we will say is Jeff's name keeps coming up, and it's coming up a lot from the perspective of his behavior change, his involvement in the searches, and evidently his lack of communication for the years have gone by.
So me knowing Jeff the way I did, I can't say I knew him great, but I knew him, I was around him. There would be no way in my mind I would ever think that he would have hurt her. But knowing people, okay, just being the age that I am and living life, you come to find out that people that you care about are the ones that end up hurting you. So can I see Jeff? I don't know what a reason would be for him to hurt her. He wasn't that type of person, but the only thing in my mind I remember back then thinking was they got into some kind of fight, some kind of argument. I could see her hitting him. Like I said, she was feisty. I could see her. I don't know. I don't even know what they would fight about, but who know? There's things you don't know. I mean, there's things I don't know about my friends behind their closed doors with their husbands, and same thing, with me, people with my ex-husband, people that didn't know me had no idea the things that I went through with my ex-husband. But that being said, is things happen. I had an incident in my life with my ex-husband that was physical, and it was something that could have been tragic, but I mean, it wasn't, but it could have turned out very badly. With that being said, with Jeff, that's the only thing that comes to my mind, is that they got into some kind of argument, fight. He went to grab her or something, and she fell. I don't know. That's the only thing that comes to my mind, like that plays in my head, like when I see something in like a vision of something happening, if he did something. But other than that, I don't think they had a physical. She never said anything about him being physical with her. She might not have. She might not. Sometimes you don't tell your closest friends things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just can't see him hurting her. And that's why I understand. I know what I'm telling you about him. So in my mind, it's crazy because I can't see that. But when we talk about him not calling anybody that night, that blows my mind, because that's not a trait. He would have, why wasn't he calling people? Because of the way he was. I know he would have been calling people. Why did he wait?
Are there any theories that have been talked about or that you know of that didn't involve Jeff?
That didn't involve him?
That didn't involve him.
The Russian mob. Sure, you heard about that.
I have. I'm struggling with that one, but we're still doing some more reading about it.
I'm not really sure. So I had somebody recently, within the last couple of years, who was close, whose family was close. I'm not going to say any names, but whose family was close with Jeff. And this person and her and I have never talked about this before. And she told me that, because I never heard of, I know that there was, they say it was secret, or what do they call it? The, like Ron, Jeff's father, Ron had, what do they call it? When it's a private person, a private.
You're talking about a silent partner.
Silent partner. I knew nothing really about the golf course and with Jeff's family. I don't ever remember Audrey talking about that. Maybe she did, but I don't remember that. But this person recently, within the last couple of years, and I had a conversation, and she told me that there was a birthday party at Jeff and Audrey's, and it was right before her disappearance. There was a birthday party, and this person's brother, who was close with Jeff, was there. And I can't remember. I think she said there was a phone call, or either a phone call from Jeff's father, or he came to the house and told Jeff, told Jeff, we have a problem, to get your gun. And this person really doesn't know much more than that. So
was that reported to the police?
I don't know.
Well, that's very interesting.
That tells me that was, I'm just assuming that was something with the Russian people. The Russian mob, maybe they weren't a mob. Maybe there's just, I don't know. I have no clue.
And then you talked a little bit earlier about the possibility of her just going off the road for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was about to say looking at her phone, but that wasn't a thing. It sounds like maybe she did have some kind of phone, but not a phone in the way that we use phones.
The bag phone, I don't even remember what that is. Like the bag phone that you had in your car, the big bag phone that back in that day.
Unfortunately, I remember having one.
I didn't have one.
I don't recall that either, but maybe. And then I know this is not something that someone really ever suspects. Particularly, I can tell in this case is sometimes people say they just like pieced out, but everyone has talked just very drilled into us the way that Audrey felt about her children. And that she would not just choose.
I can't ever imagine. I mean, I can't ever imagine that, ever. No way. You know, Jeff kind of had, you know, there was things, I think it was afterwards I heard of an incident. You know, he when it came to Katie and Quinn, I think he kind of made the rules. You know, those were his kids. And I don't know, maybe there was some silent partner Russian that things weren't good. And maybe that's why he was that way with his kids. I mean, he wasn't with Sansia. She used to come to I have pictures. I'm trying to think of whose birthday party. It must have been my daughter Alex's first birthday party. So Alex would have been 2 the year that Audrey went missing. But I had my 2 youngest daughters are 11 months apart. One was born in April and the younger one was born in March. So they're 11 months apart. And I have pictures of, I had like my in-laws and everybody at my house, and Audrey and Sansia were there, but the 2 little kids weren't there. Maybe it was just easier not to bring them because, you know, they were little. Quinn and Alex, my daughter Alex, my middle daughter, are the same age. They went to school together. But yeah, so, and then there was another incident that we used to have, at school. We used to have, or the elementary school for the kids, there used to be like, I forget what they call it, foreign, like a foreign exchange day or something like that. It was, you dressed, everybody had a different country.
Yeah, like culture day. They called it culture day. You dressed.
Something. That's not what they called it, but yeah. So they dressed up. Everyone had a different country, and like, you know, you would have a table set up in the cafeteria and you would, you know, dress in that country's, you know, an outfit, and then you would make the food. And I remember Marie, I think, telling me something happened and he wouldn't let the 2 little ones go. I can't remember what country it was either. But I don't know. It was just weird things like that. He wouldn't allow her to take them.
What do you remember about law enforcement's efforts, not necessarily that first day, but kind of moving forward?
I guess they used ATVs. I don't remember if they used helicopters or not. I mean, I don't know how thorough they were, you know, investigating, you know, Jeff and the family and the house. And you know, after a while, after not finding her, you know, weeks are going by, and of course we're going to say, what are they doing? Why can't they find her? But I honestly don't know what their efforts were. I can't say that offhand. I have no clue.
And we know that Audrey's disappearance has gotten quite a bit of media coverage, and we're happy to be able to contribute to that. Tell us a little bit about that. I know there were some pretty high profile shows that her story was covered on.
Marie and I, Audrey's father and stepmother Jeannie, went to Montel Williams. That was, I believe, about 10 months after her disappearance. I believe we found out when we were there that they had the producers told us that they had reached out to Jeff when she first disappeared and he declined. And I think it we had Sylvia Brown was on that episode that we went to. that we were invited to go to. So we just couldn't understand why he would have declined. One of the first things that I do remember when we went, I don't know which day it was, if it was a couple of days after, but I was questioned by the state police, and we all went to the barracks. And I remember saying, I don't know if it was just to Marie, but I remember saying, why doesn't someone have a reward? Like at this time, we don't know really what happened. So we're just, my first instincts or, first thought was, why doesn't, if Jeff's family has money, why isn't someone putting a reward out? So we started doing things to raise money to try to put a reward out. And one of the things that we did was we got Hoffman Car Wash is a chain car wash around here. And we got a hold of them, and they had tickets made, and we literally went door to door selling these tickets. And then after that, we had like the bike runs, but I believe Jeff did contribute $1,000 towards the reward fund.
And this isn't like a small, like par 3 golf course we're talking about, right?
Nope. It's an 18 course, and I just started golfing 3 years ago, and good friends of mine bought it, and so I started golfing there. So it's very big.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add, my friend who bought that had told me that a lot of their, customers that golf there, they talk about Jeff's family being the ones that caused Audrey's disappearance. They don't say how or, but that's what they believe.
Do they give any at least context to that accusation?
No, they just, I don't know. I mean, my friend just told me that a lot of people, but that doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just people talking.
It's the 19th hole talk.
That's right.
You finish up and you go to, I play a little golf.
Yeah.
You go to the 19th. But, I think it's a good thing these are the kinds of things that maybe it feels like maybe it's nothing, but maybe it is something, right? It's that kind of conversation. Right. And that's part of why we do these conversations too, because sometimes things come up. That has been lost for a while, or you see something in a new light, or you have a vision or a dream about something, and you need to talk it out, right? I think that's real fascinating. There must be a lot of golf courses up in that area. We have another story that we have covered, someone missing out of West Palm Beach. But there is someone who is a part of that story who owns a golf course outside of, I think it's Saratoga Springs, up in that area.
Okay, I'm up that area now.
They must be making good money in the summer, because I would imagine there's not much golfing going on in the winter.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
At least if there is, it doesn't sound like any fun.
No.
Pass
on that. So as we kind of conclude and get towards close, are there things that you've thought about that you would like to share that we did not give you an opportunity to speak about?
Not that I can think of. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, so I guess we can kind of start. We'll get to our last question. I always like to kind of close on these with, if there's someone you want to reach out to or someone you want to talk to now, what would you say? Either to Jeff or to.
With Jeff, I guess I was always, I don't know why I was always so hesitant to ask him, because I always wanted to know. One of the things I definitely want to know is why he didn't call us early in the morning. If he didn't call us during the night, why didn't he call 6, 7 o'clock in the morning? Why was it so late? I do have something I want to add, actually. I have a good friend of mine whose sister was involved with Jeff. I can't remember how many years ago. And less than 10 years, I would think, I spoke to her, and she said that definitely 100% he had nothing to do with this, that he still had pictures up. He had things in the house still of hers up. I wish I could tell you how many years ago this was. I'm trying to think. I remember exactly where I was when I was talking to her. I was at the mall, sitting in my car waiting to go in. I had to go shopping for something, but I don't remember how I ended up calling her. It had to have been the last 10 years. And she's convinced that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. Sorry, you just said something and that
No, that's
reminded me that
It's a perfect example.
that's a perfect example of why we ask questions the way we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, I definitely want to know why he waited so long. Like, why? I'm not saying that would have made a difference, but knowing Jeff the way I knew him, why did he wait? And I would want to know, do they think that, like, his family, do they think that this was an outsider, someone like the Russian mob or whatever you want to call them? Does he really think that they had, if it wasn't him, if it wasn't his father, was it these outside people that were involved with the property? I don't know that I would get an answer, but that's definitely something that I want to know.
And then lastly, can you talk a little bit about the impact that Audrey's disappearance has had on you even this many years later?
So when everything first happened and weeks and months were going by and we were doing whatever we could, to think of things, to raise money, to get a reward, to keep her name out, to get her name out there, because this was something that people, maybe an hour away, people never heard of Audrey. Where you have Lacey Peterson, who was from California, we knew about her. So we were doing whatever we could. I mean, we even had jugs at local stores that had her picture and a reward, and people were putting money in there. And that's what we were doing. We were always doing something, always on our computers. I remember being in my, I had a home, I had a semi-finished basement, and that's where my office was, where my computer was. And I had little kids, and my mind was so focused. I just think about how I neglected my family back then. It's all you could think about. You really couldn't think about anything else. We just wanted to find her. We were trying different avenues. We got involved with a lot of people with missing loved ones. And I want to say it took a big toll on me, taking away from my family. I was home, I was doing things, but I just remember, like, my mind was just not focused on the things that it should have been focused on. It was focused on finding her. And as the years went by, now it's 20 something years later, 23 years later, and you still think about her. I have an angel out on my, I bring it out at Christmas time. What's weird is Sansia and my daughter Mariah went to Girl Scouts, and it would have been the Girl Scouts had a big Christmas party with the at a restaurant, and everybody brought a gift. The mothers brought a gift for each other, and the girls bought a gift for each other, and then Santa would hand them out. You didn't know who the gift was from. There was it was a lot of people. It was all the troops together.
Right.
And I ended up getting this angel it was in a box, a porcelain angel. Her wings open up, and she's holding a dove. Audrey and I, I don't know if we were sitting together at that table, but I opened it up and she's like, that was my gift. She goes, that's the gift I gave. And ironically, I got her gift. And that would have been Christmas of 21. That's something that I put out at Christmas time, and it just makes me feel closer to her. I know that sounds crazy, but being now that it's so many years later, and life goes on, and we think about her a lot, and people like you we're grateful for that reach out, because this is not something that goes away. I'm sorry.
Take your
time.
This
is not something that goes away. And I just don't want us taking this to the grave. I pray. There's times where I see people, and you might be driving, and you look and you're like, oh my God, that looks like Audrey, and you think, like, is she still out there? I don't want her to be still out there if she's being tortured somewhere, but this is just something that I can't even believe that we're still going through this after 23 years. Her poor mother, her poor mother is now very sick and paralyzed. I believe she's still paralyzed. And, she's, you can't imagine what she went through. I can't imagine one of my children ever being missing, Son Sia, she's a grown woman now. I wonder how much she remembers of her mother, Katie and Quinn, they don't remember her. We go through life every day because we have to, but this is not something that ever goes away. It's never going to go away. And when we start talking about things, when people come up, something comes up usually around the time of her disappearance where people start talking on the internet. And Marie's really good at making sure the police know everything. If someone says, oh, this happened, or someone says something, Marie makes sure that they probably can't stand her. but she makes sure that she lets the investigator know about whatever, if someone's saying, even if it's something so small, she makes sure that they know about it. But yeah, this is something that will never ever go away.
You've been listening to Tragedy, a true crime podcast. Our purpose is to honor victims by sharing their stories through the voices of friends, family, and those whose lives were forever changed. If today's episode resonated with you, we encourage you to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast so these important stories continue to be heard. Together, we can preserve their memories and ensure their voices are never forgotten. If you have ideas for cases we should cover or questions about what you heard, you can connect with us through our Facebook group, Tragedy, a True Crime Podcast, on X at Tragedy Podcast, by email at tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast@gmail.com, or by visiting our website, www.tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time.